You believe that destroying an enemy requires a declaration of war, a loud, violent attack. This is the amateur's mistake, and it's why you keep losing. The most devastating weapon you can use against a rival is not aggression. It is a profound, calculated stillness that makes them completely irrelevant. This is the art of annihilation through apathy. So how do you turn your silence into a weapon? And what is the first crucial step to making your enemies engineer their own collapse? Before we continue, subscribe now to keep these videos coming, because only your support makes more content like this possible. You have been taught that destruction is a loud and violent affair, a declaration of war, a shouted insult, a direct and forceful attack. This is the understanding of the amateur, the emotional, the weak. You are here to learn a different kind of power, a strategy of devastating elegance. The most absolute destruction you can ever unleash upon an enemy is not an act of aggression. It is an act of profound and calculated silence. This is the first and most vital lesson you must absorb. True power does not announce itself with thunder. It commands the world with stillness. Consider the foundational error of the common person. When faced with an enemy, a rival at work, a detractor in their social circle, anyone who seeks to undermine them, their immediate impulse is to react. They return fire with fire, anger with anger. They enter the frame the enemy has built for them, accepting the terms of a battle they are already losing. By reacting, they grant the attack legitimacy. They signal that the enemy has found a weakness, that they have lost control. You will not make this mistake. Where they are loud, you will be silent. Where they flail in desperation, you will be a monolith of calm. This contrast is the basis of your newfound power. Let us unpack this weapon, this potent force of strategic silence. An enemy's attack is not merely an action, it is a bid for your attention. It is a desperate attempt to force a reaction, to prove they have influence over your emotional state. An insult is a probe, searching for the crack in your composure. When you refuse to provide that reaction, you do something far more damaging than launching a counterattack. You render their efforts irrelevant. Your silence communicates a message of supreme confidence. Your attempt to affect me is so insignificant it does not even warrant a response. This denial of attention is a psychological vacuum. The enemy, expecting a struggle, finds themselves pushing against nothing. They are left to stumble forward, their momentum carrying them into a void of your making. Their power requires your participation to exist. Withhold it, and their power dissolves. Imagine it. Someone launches a verbal attack designed to provoke and humiliate you in front of others. They are prepared for your defense, for your anger, for your justification. They have scripted their follow-up remarks, but you offer them none of it. You hold their gaze for a moment, not with aggression, but with a detached and impenetrable calm. There is no flicker of anger, no sign of distress. There is only stillness. In that moment, the entire dynamic shifts. Their aggression, unmet, hangs awkwardly in the air. It no longer looks like a powerful strike, but like a desperate, undignified tantrum. You have not said a word, yet you have reframed the entire event. You are the one with composure, the one with control. They are the one who has revealed a fragile, reactive core. They are forced to either escalate, looking even more unhinged, or retreat in shame. This is the wisdom hinted at by Machiavelli. You do not need to destroy your enemy. You must simply create the perfect conditions for them to destroy themselves. They will collapse under the weight of their own exposed insecurity. This is the art of destruction through inaction. This is your first step toward true mastery. The first battlefield you will master is the most common and the most crude, the personal attack. Consider the direct insult, the thinly veiled criticism, the public barb designed to diminish you. This is the enemy's bluntest instrument, deployed when they lack subtlety, but possess an abundance of insecure aggression. Their goal is simple and primal: to provoke a reaction, to force you onto their level, to draw you into a messy emotional brawl where they feel most comfortable. Their attack is an invitation to abandon your control. You must learn to decline with devastating finality. The amateur's error is to treat the insult as something that must be refuted. They hear a slander and their ego screams for defense. They rush to correct the record, to deny the accusation, to return the fire with an insult of their own. But what does this reaction truly accomplish? It signals that the enemy's words have power over you. It grants them the precious attention they so desperately crave. By engaging, you validate their frame, confirming that their attack has landed and that you are now invested in the conflict they initiated. You have taken their bait, and in doing so, have surrendered the very control you seek to maintain. Your strategy will be the opposite. It is a descent into a profound and weaponized calm. When the attack comes, you will not build a wall to block it. You will become a void into which it disappears without a trace. You will offer them nothing. No flash of anger, no defensive posture, no justification. Only a quiet, impenetrable stillness. Let their words, filled with venom and desperate energy, hang in the air, finding no target, no echo, no purchase on your reality. This calculated indifference is a weapon far sharper than any retort. Your silence is not an absence of a response. It is the most powerful response you can give. It communicates with absolute clarity. You are irrelevant. This stillness becomes a blade that cuts at the very foundation of their power, their need for your validation. An enemy's attack is a transaction. They offer provocation in exchange for your emotional energy. By withholding that energy, you nullify the entire exchange. Watch them as they realize their attack has failed. First, there is confusion. They expected a fight, a struggle. Then, frustration. They may repeat the attack, perhaps louder, with more venom, hoping to force the reaction they need. This is the moment of truth. Their desperation to gain control will make them lose it completely. They are compelled to overreach, to escalate, looking more and more unhinged as their efforts meet only the unshakable monolith of your composure. This is the great strategic reversal. You do not need to defend your reputation from their slander. Your unwavering calm does it for you. Your composure becomes the frame through which everyone views the interaction. Within this frame, your silence is not weakness. It is supreme strength. Their loud, frantic attack is not power. It is exposed desperation. You are not a victim being assaulted. You are a figure of immense self-control being harassed by a flailing, emotionally fragile opponent. Without saying a single word, you have allowed the enemy to perfectly and publicly illustrate their own inadequacy. You have engineered the conditions for their collapse, and all you had to do was remain perfectly still. Every barb they throw is simply another opportunity for you to tighten your grip, to reinforce your power, and to let them exhaust themselves into oblivion. Now you must understand the enemy's fundamental weakness, the dependency that fuels their every action. A desperate, insatiable hunger for your attention. This is not a secondary trait. It is their core motivation. Their power, their very sense of self, is a fragile construct built upon the foundation of being noticed by you. Every provocation, every sabotage, every passive-aggressive remark is not just an attack. It is a plea to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be confirmed as a relevant force in your world. The amateur, in their haste to defend themselves, answers this plea with the very thing the enemy craves: engagement. They give their energy, their focus, their emotional reaction, and in doing so, they feed the parasite. You will learn to starve it. Your weapon in this campaign of attrition is not aggression, but annihilation through apathy. You will treat their existence as a negligible variable, an ambient noise you choose not to process. When they launch an attack designed to pull you into their drama, you must recognize it for what it is: a bid for relevance. To engage is to accept the bid. To react is to signal that their strategy is working. Your path is different. You will become a black hole for their efforts, a void where their frantic need for attention goes to die. This is the ultimate expression of control. You do not merely ignore them, you render them conceptually irrelevant. Your calm becomes a fortress, and your silence becomes the verdict on their significance. This will lead to a predictable, yet critical, escalation. An enemy starved of attention will not retreat quietly at first. Their insecurity cannot tolerate the void. They will grow frantic. Their attacks will become louder, more frequent, more desperate. They will escalate from veiled insults to overt slander, from subtle undermining to public spectacle. This is the moment most people break. They mistake the increased noise for increased power and finally give in, lashing out in a desperate bid to end the assault. This is precisely the trap they have been trying to set all along. They have finally provoked the reaction they need to validate their existence. But you will not fall. You will see this escalation not as a sign of their strength, but as the death rattle of their influence. This is the telltale sign of their impending collapse. As their behavior becomes more erratic, your response must become more serene. As they shout, your silence must deepen. As they flail, your stillness must become absolute. The contrast you create is devastating. To any observer, their escalating desperation framed against your unwavering composure paints a perfect picture. They are not a powerful adversary. They are a person losing control. Their every frantic move is a self-inflicted wound, exposing a profound and pathetic weakness. They are fighting a war against your indifference, and they are losing catastrophically. You are not simply weathering the storm. You are the unmoving object against which the storm exhausts itself into nothingness. By refusing to play their game, you have made their every move a demonstration of their own powerlessness. Their need for your attention becomes the very instrument of their public self-destruction. We advance now from the direct assault to a more insidious form of attack, the poison of slander. The enemy, having failed to break your composure with a frontal charge, now attempts to destroy your reputation from the shadows. They will craft a narrative about you, a lie designed to isolate you, to turn others against you, to build a prison of perception around you. They will whisper that you are incompetent, that you are cruel, that you are unstable. This is their most treacherous frame, for it does not attack you directly but attacks how the world sees you. The amateur's instinct is a scream for justice. They hear the lie and rush to extinguish it with the truth. They issue denials, offer explanations, and gather evidence to refute the slander. But what does this frantic defense truly achieve? It places the lie at the center of the conversation. By arguing against it, you give it substance. You are reacting to a narrative they created, debating on a battlefield they chose, and playing by rules they wrote. Every word you speak in your own defense is another log on the fire they started. You amplify their attack by acknowledging it as worthy of a response. You will not make this error. Your strategy here is not silence, but a far more devastating weapon: absolute contrast. You will let their words hang in the air, untouched and unacknowledged, while you construct a reality so powerful it renders their fiction obsolete. You will not refute their lies with words, you will suffocate them with your actions. This requires immense control, for you must treat their campaign of slander as nothing more than ambient noise, an irrelevant distraction from your purpose. Your focus remains unbroken, your energy undivided. Let them talk. You will act. Their words become the backdrop for your performance, the dark canvas upon which you will paint a masterpiece of competence and character. Consider the dynamic you create. If they spread rumors that you are weak and ineffective, you will not waste breath on denials. Instead, you will deliver a result, a project, a victory, an achievement of such undeniable excellence that their accusations become laughable. Your success will be your rebuttal. If they paint you as cold and cruel, you will not make speeches about your kindness. You will be seen offering help to a struggling colleague, showing public grace under pressure, or demonstrating compassion when it is least expected. Your actions become undeniable proof that contradicts their narrative. You force observers into a simple choice: to believe the desperate whispers of a bitter rival, or to believe the evidence of their own eyes. The contrast between their venomous words and your calm, effective conduct is a psychological weapon. It does not just neutralize their attack, it exposes them as a malicious and unreliable source. This is the ultimate reversal of power. Instead of feeling wounded or defensive in the face of their lies, you must learn to see them as an opportunity. Their slander is a gift. They have inadvertently built a stage for you and told the audience exactly what to watch for. Their accusation becomes your cue. Their every lie is a chance for you to demonstrate the opposite, to showcase your superiority on the very terms they have defined. They wanted to frame you as weak. You will use that frame to display your strength. They wanted to frame you as isolated. You will use that frame to demonstrate your influence. You allow their attack to proceed, not because you are powerless to stop it, but because their attack is now the perfect vehicle for their own destruction. You have moved beyond simply winning the battle. You are now controlling the very nature of the war, turning the enemy's most potent weapon into the instrument of their final humiliating collapse. You will now face an enemy not of aggression, but of appropriation. This is the imitator, the shadow who survives by stealing your light. They do not attack you with insults or slander. Their assault is far more parasitic. They will adopt your mannerisms, echo your ideas as their own, and claim credit for your victories. Their goal is to blur the line between the original and the copy, to dilute your unique value until you are indistinguishable from their pale reflection. This is an attack on your very identity. The common instinct, the amateur's desperate cry, is to prove your originality. You will feel an overwhelming urge to call them out, to expose their theft, or to accelerate your own work, to innovate so quickly they cannot keep up. But what does this frantic race truly accomplish? To confront them is to give them the one thing they crave, a shared stage. You create a public drama, a messy dispute over ownership that elevates them to the status of a legitimate rival. To try and outrun them is an even greater error. You accept their terms of engagement, entering a race you have already won simply by being the source, by reacting, by changing your pace because of them. You signal that they have power over you. You have allowed a mere echo to alter the course of the voice. You have surrendered your control, not to a worthy adversary, but to a desperate, unoriginal mimic. Their entire existence is validated the moment you begin to compete with them. Your response, therefore, must be an exercise in profound and unshakable stillness. You will not engage. You will not accelerate. You will not even acknowledge their presence. You will continue on your path, at your own pace, with the same focus and deliberation as if they did not exist. This stillness is not passive. It is a declaration of your absolute superiority. It creates a contrast so stark it becomes a weapon in itself. You are the source, they are the derivative. You are the substance, they are the shadow. What happens to a shadow when the object it mimics refuses to move or to fight? It is exposed as a weightless, powerless, and irrelevant entity, defined only by its relationship to a power it can never possess. This is where their collapse begins. An imitator cannot survive in a vacuum of attention. Their mimicry is a bid for your reaction, for the validation of a rivalry. When you offer them nothing but calm, unwavering indifference, their insecurity will ignite. They will escalate. Their imitations will become more blatant, more desperate, more frantic. They will rush to copy your latest success, shouting it from the rooftops, hoping their volume will be mistaken for authenticity. They are trying to force your hand, to finally provoke the confrontation they so desperately need. This is the critical moment, the pivot upon which their self-destruction turns. Just as they lunge forward, desperate to steal your spotlight, you will do the unexpected. You will not hold your ground. You will take one deliberate step back. You will cede the stage to them entirely. You will let them have the attention they have so violently craved. And in that spotlight, alone and unsupported by your energy, their fraudulence will be laid bare for all to see. They have the script, but not the talent. They have the words, but not the meaning. Their performance, under the full glare of the attention they sought, is revealed as hollow and pathetic. The audience sees not a rival, but a cheap copy, an empty vessel exposed the moment the source of its power withdraws. You did not have to destroy them. You simply had to give them exactly what they wanted and allow their own profound inadequacy to do the rest. Your power is not in the race. It is in being the destination. The final enemy you must master is not the loudmouth, the saboteur, or the shadow. It is the most entrenched and perhaps the most dangerous, the superior. This is the individual who uses their position, their title, their perceived authority not to lead, but to control. Their weapon is the subtle weight of status, a condescending remark disguised as guidance, a dismissal veiled as a professional judgment. Their attack is designed to keep you in your place, to reinforce a hierarchy that serves only their fragile ego. The amateur, feeling the sting of this condescension, makes a fatal error. They react with a direct challenge. They argue, they defy, they attempt to prove their worth in an open confrontation. This is precisely the battle their superior wants, for it is a battle fought on their terms, within a system they command. By challenging their authority directly, you legitimize it. You are a subject petitioning the king, reinforcing the very frame of power you wish to dismantle. You cannot win a game where your opponent is also the referee. You will therefore refuse to play. Your strategy is a masterful application of psychological jujitsu. You will not oppose their force. You will absorb it until it becomes your own. When they exert their authority to belittle you, you will not resist. You will not flinch. You will not defend yourself. You will meet their display of power with an unnerving and impenetrable calm. This is your shield. Let their condescension wash over you, finding no crack in your composure, no emotional purchase. Your stillness is not submission. It is a quiet refusal to validate their power. An authority figure expects their status to provoke a reaction: fear, obedience, anger. When you provide none, you create a psychological void. Your calm becomes a silent question that hangs in the air. Is your power real if it has no effect on me? They are left to push against a yielding surface, their confidence eroding with every fruitless attempt to control you. Here you will execute a turn of devastating elegance. You will not continue to passively absorb their attacks. Instead, you will begin to subtly amplify their own arrogance. You will offer them the deference they so clearly crave, but it will be a hollow gesture, a strategic performance. You will nod at their pronouncements. You will appear to yield to their wisdom. You will give them the outward signs of the superiority they believe they possess. This is not weakness. It is the Machiavellian art of lulling an enemy into a fatal sense of security. You are feeding their ego, inflating their self-importance, encouraging them to climb higher onto a pedestal of their own making. An enemy drunk on their own power is an enemy who is no longer paying attention. They will see you as a conquered territory, a non-threat, and in that moment of supreme arrogance, they become blind. While they are mesmerized by the reflection you have so carefully polished for them, you will engage in a campaign of silent, relentless growth. Your focus is absolute. Every moment they waste on self-aggrandizement, you invest in self-mastery. You will acquire new skills. You will deliver undeniable results. You will build alliances. You will become so profoundly competent, so effective, that your value becomes an objective fact, independent of their opinion. A devastating contrast begins to form. They are the loud, stagnant symbol of power. You are the quiet, undeniable engine of progress. A moment will inevitably arrive when their symbolic authority is tested against your tangible worth. In that moment of crisis or opportunity, all eyes will turn not to the title, but to the one who can solve the problem. Your accumulated excellence becomes a force of nature that their fragile hierarchy cannot withstand. You have not fought them. You have not staged a coup. You have simply made their power irrelevant. They are left alone, exposed and obsolete atop a mountain of their own arrogance, watching as you become the new center of gravity. We must now elevate our understanding. Beyond the direct attack, beyond the poison of slander, lies a battlefield of pure perception. This is the battle for the frame. Every conflict is a story, and the one who controls the story controls the outcome. The enemy's ultimate goal is not merely to defeat you, but to cast you as the villain in a narrative of their own design. They will meticulously construct a frame, a context of lies and misinterpretations, where their aggression is righteous and your very existence is a provocation. Their attack is not on you, but on reality itself, and their victory depends on your acceptance of the role they have assigned you. The amateur, hearing themselves cast as the villain, instinctively rushes to the stage to proclaim their innocence. This is the most profound error one can make. To argue your case is to validate their court. To defend your character is to accept their premise that it is in question. Every denial you issue, every piece of evidence you present, serves only to legitimize the frame they have built around you. You have entered their story, accepting the terms of a debate where your guilt is the central topic. You have become a character in their fiction, and by fighting from within its walls, you give those walls substance and strength. Your struggle does not break the frame, it reinforces it. You are pouring your energy, your attention, your very being into a structure designed for your own imprisonment. Your every move to prove you are not the villain only confirms that you are, at the very least, the accused. Your strategy, therefore, must be one of majestic and devastating detachment. You will not fight the narrative. You will transcend it. You will not argue your role within their story. You will refuse to be a character in it at all. When they point and shout, "Villain," you will not answer. You will offer them nothing but the quiet, impenetrable contrast of your own reality. Let them construct their elaborate fiction. You will be a monolith of fact. Your silence is not an admission of guilt. It is a declaration that their entire narrative is irrelevant. It is a quiet question that dismantles their power. What is a villain who refuses to participate in the drama? What is an accusation that receives no reaction? It becomes a lonely, desperate cry in a vast and empty space. This is where the enemy's great collapse begins. Their frame is a hollow structure that requires your energy to stand. Starved of your reaction, it begins to tremble. Their desperation will become palpable. They will escalate, adding more frantic details to their story, making their accusations louder, more shrill, seeking to force you onto their stage. To any observer, the contrast becomes undeniable. On one side, there is the enemy, frantically pointing, shouting, weaving a more and more complicated tale. On the other side, there is you, still, silent, and utterly unmoved. Their aggressive performance, set against the backdrop of your profound composure, begins to look unhinged. They are no longer a righteous accuser. They are a heckler shouting at a statue. They have built your stage, lit the lights, and called the audience, all in an effort to define you. But by refusing to play your part, you have turned their production into a showcase of their own obsession. You become a blank canvas upon which they hysterically paint their own insecurity for the world to see. You do not need to destroy their narrative. You have created the perfect conditions for them to exhaust themselves in its telling. You have seized control not by fighting their story, but by embodying a truth so powerful it renders their fiction obsolete. This is the ultimate power, to remain so firmly rooted in your own reality that you become the silent, unmoving force that shatters their fragile world. You have learned the art of the weaponized calm, the strategy of the silent counterattack. You have mastered the frame and turned the enemy's own energy against them. But now you must ascend beyond strategy itself, to a final philosophy of power so absolute that it requires no enemy to exist. The ultimate mastery is not to engineer their collapse, but to render them so profoundly and permanently irrelevant that their very existence becomes a footnote in the story of your rise. You will no longer see their attacks as something to be deflected or endured. You will come to see them as gifts. Every arrow of slander they fire, every desperate lunge for your attention, is no longer a threat. It is a signpost, a map gifted to you by your most dedicated, if unwitting, trainer. Their every action illuminates the precise path of your ascent. If they call you incompetent, you will not react with a defense. You will absorb that charge as a directive and deliver a result so magnificent, a success so undeniable, that their accusation evaporates into absurdity. Their attack becomes the raw material for your greatest achievement. If they attempt to frame you as isolated and weak, you will not argue. You will use it as a cue to cultivate alliances and influence so authentic and powerful that you become the undeniable center of gravity. Their every attempt to diminish you becomes the very catalyst for your growth. What becomes of an enemy whose every action only serves to strengthen the one they wish to destroy? They enter into a state of horrifying strategic paradox. To attack you is to build you. To slander you is to empower you. To fight you is to fuel the very engine of your transcendence. Their power, which has always been dependent on your reaction, now becomes entirely parasitic on their own negativity. They are trapped in a self-devouring loop, burning their own substance in a desperate attempt to cast a shadow on a sun that is only growing brighter. They become less significant with every move they make. Their loudest shouts are lost in the vast, quiet space of your expanding reality. A profound and unshakable calm will settle upon you. This is not the calculated stillness of a warrior waiting for an opening. It is the deep, abiding peace of a mountain that does not concern itself with the wind. You will cease to see them as an adversary. You will begin to see them as a whetstone, a crude and necessary friction that polishes you to a devastating brilliance. Their frantic, flailing existence becomes the backdrop of your serene composure. And soon, they will look for you on the battlefield, ready for the next round of their pathetic war, and they will find nothing. You have not fled. You have not hidden. You have simply outgrown the entire conflict. You now operate on a plane they cannot perceive, a level of power and influence where their petty tactics are meaningless static. This is the greatest and most final destruction. It is not a sudden, violent collapse. It is a slow, quiet fade into utter insignificance. They are left alone, standing in the ruins of a war they fought against themselves. Exhausted from battling a phantom, they will not understand their defeat, for there was no final confrontation, no triumphant moment you claimed as a victory. There was only your silent, inexorable rise. You did not defeat an enemy. You transcended the very conditions that allowed them to be one. You stand now, not as a victor, but as a force of nature, untouched and unmoved. Their desperate campaign of hatred did not destroy you. It created you, and you are left in the profound quiet of your own absolute power, where their memory is not even a whisper.